give up.
Come on, bro. The calcium in milk helps bones grow.
Now available to own on video and DVD.
Only one holiday is the biggest holiday of the year.
Hey, watch it!
And only one movie is still America's favorite movie.
This is great!
Join Buzz, Woody, and all the gang
Did you see my ears?
for the film critics call the must-see movie of the holiday season.
Every Christmas we go through this.
Because Christmas isn't Christmas without the toy.
Well done, man. Thank you all. Thank you.
The legendary movie Hall of Fame. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Mac and Me. But one movie series I think earned its spot without a doubt is Toy Story. I grew up with Toy Story 1 through 3 mostly. I definitely saw 2 the most in theaters due to me not existing until 2 years after the first one came out. Well, what makes Toy Story such a good watch even 25 years later? Character development. This movie is filled with some of the weirdest ideas yet oddly relatable characters. Woody is definitely meant to be the most relatable character, which is why the first movie focuses on his development the most. His development comes down to jealousy and acceptance. As a kid, I always liked and related to Buzz more. Having that childlike ignorance is so damn fun. You as the kid watching, obviously you know he is a toy, but you still feel bad for him when he figures it out. But why isn't it frustrating? Why aren't we sighing with relief, like when a cook on MasterChef finally realizes that what they've been making is a complete disaster due to some stupid mistake along the way? Well, realistically, it's because of how much we relate to the characters. Whereas you would be frustrated with yourself for doing the same mistakes the chef would make, when it comes to Buzz, it's not wanting to let go of that fantasy. That ignorance is what protected you from the harsh reality of life. Or maybe I'm reading way too much into a kid's movie, but at the end of the day, the reason you can go back so easily to this film, I think, is not just for its humor, but its perspective, no matter where you are at in life. It's remembering what it was like to be a kid, even without the kid's perspective. This film just has so much imagination that all of the characters end up having their own sort of realism. Whether you relate to Buzz's childlike ignorance or Woody's anger and frustration, there's something for everyone to attach to, which is what separates a movie like Toy Story from your typical animated film. It's not just for kids, it's something for everyone. There's something for everyone to enjoy. With the first movie being an absolute legend, with amazing character development and an amazingly well done story, the first Toy Story gets a 5.5 out of 6.
Subject A, good hedgehog. Subject B, evil hedgehog. Introducing Shadow from Sonic Adventure 2. Now you can choose to be Sonic, the good hedgehog, and try to save the world. Or Shadow, the evil hedgehog, and conquer it. What kind of hedgehog are you? Rated E for everyone, only on Dreamcast.
Toy Story 2. At long last, the prodigal son has been born. And what were my first words out of the womb, you may ask? One ticket to Toy Story 2, please. I was furious when the doctor told me I was 1 year, 11 months, and 9 days too early. But what made me obsessed with it? What made me, keep in mind as a 3-year-old, of course, want to watch it so many times? Of course, being a kid, you could say because of all the flashing colors on the screen, but I'd like to think I was mature for my age. For this video's most controversial take, I would have to say Toy Story 2 improves on almost everything that the first film had completed. The humor, the tension, the new characters were all amazing. Also, if you didn't know, this is technically a musical. Yep, the one time a single song is sung by a character, it doesn't even seem out of pocket for the movie. Not to mention this song will make any human being cry at least once. Now, I am a sucker for road trip movies, Goofy Movie, Due Date, National Lampoon's Vacation. Just the idea of Buzz and all the other toys, so determined to find their friend, always sat with me as a kid. Like, I'm trying to think who I would do that for if I saw my friend being kidnapped. I'd obviously call the cops, but like, what then? Would I jump into traffic with a cone running across the highway? Absolutely.
Check this out, y'all. Yo!
By far one of the best parts of the film is when they finally get to Woody and he doesn't want to go with them. And then eventually when he does, the cards are revealed and it's a high-speed chase to the airport. The stakes, the tension is much higher than the first one, which makes it one of the most exciting films I had seen up to that point in my life, of course. But what makes it so rewatchable goes back to the first one. It's the character development. Every new character has a purpose, has a role. This is a movie that you could watch 1,000 times over for 1,000 reasons. The music, the humor, the characters, the tension, and the sheer creativity makes this a film like no other, and one that I do not regret a single rewatch. Toy Story 2 gets a 6 out of 6. "11 years later, your boy is 13, hanging out in middle school. Then it hits July 15th, 2009. The first teaser for Toy Story 3. How on earth could they even joke about surpassing the original two? It looked promising. The visuals were upgraded, the original two movies remastered for the anniversary. I wrote an English paper about what I thought the plot was going to be. Now I know what you're thinking. Two things specifically. Duh. Obviously, they were going to live. Okay, jackass, go sit on a Lego. I was 13 and have emotions.
Oh my God.
Obviously, the whole point of this movie was, hey, 9 years have passed, Andy's going off to college. There's not realistically a way that I could relate to Andy in this situation. Basically, shenanigans happen, and the gang ends up at Sunnyside Daycare, a place where all sorts of toys are donated for the kids that reside there. The film can get decently dark story-wise, which I did enjoy that twist on the formula. It's a story about devotion. It's a story that simply dips into growing up and what it means to move on. While I don't think that the storytelling hit the peak that the second one did for me, it easily still sits among the absolute best Pixar movies. Toy Story 3 getting a 5 out of 6. How does this make you feel? Huh? How do you think it made me feel? Another 9 years on the clock, and here we are. Everyone's at a new point in life. Toy Story 4 released June 21st, 2019, to a skeptical audience. After such a perfect ending with the third movie, how do you keep that going? My biggest fear was the series would become a Simpsons venture and attempt to keep going even when the flame was dying out. At 21 years old, I don't think I've laughed harder at an animated film. The sheer creativity in such a limited setting is absolutely genius. But in this one, they stay pretty decently grounded only with Bonnie and at this carnival. But even then, they give these characters so much to do. The main theme of this film is letting go, knowing when to step back and be satisfied with where life has put you. Whether it's a parent watching a child of theirs move out or two friends going two different ways in life. I would definitely say this is more of a Woody film than a Buzz movie, which is perfectly fine. I think the writers handled it perfectly, coming from 3 and making an even better ending than 3, giving Toy Story 4 a 5.5 out of 6. After 4 Toy Story films, it's about time that we see the film that introduced the toy himself, Buzz Lightyear. Now, for those who don't understand, this is basically the film that Andy watched, which is told to you at the beginning of the film. This is what would go on to inspire the Buzz Lightyear toy in his universe.
Buzz Lightyear, the world's greatest superhero, now the world's greatest toy! Buzz has it all! Locking wrist communicator!
Calling Buzz Lightyear!
Karate chop action!
Wow!
Pulsating laser light!
Total annihilation!
Multi-phase voice simulator!
With that out of the way, Lightyear dives into a sort of Star Wars territory when it comes to its storytelling, which clearly is what it's based on. You have your intergalactic superhero versus the evil Emperor Zurg. With a surprising amount of new characters, most of them come out to be very lovable, especially my boy Socks.
I see you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Oh.
Socks, who I thought was going to be the Olaf of the film, was actually by far my favorite new character, with humor that hits well, a good, very simple narrative, and his walk being the most entertaining walk of all time. With voices of James Brolin, Taika Waititi, Chris Evans, and Peter Sohn, voice cast is absolutely incredible. Another thing I've loved about Pixar films recently is the cinematography is absolutely beautiful. It's an important thing, especially with these new age animated films, to stand out above the rest. Overall, the story was not quite what I expected, but I really liked the time mechanics. Basically, instead of him going forward 60 years and having to fit in the future, every time he goes into space, he moves forward about 4 years. And he knows he's doing this, so as he's going forward with the mission, he sees his best friend and captain slowly die away. Right off the bat, the personality of Buzz and the references at the beginning of the film and throughout are absolutely hysterical. Honestly, I only have two main gripes with the film. First off, when it comes to the new characters that he's facing most of the movie with, only a few of them were really necessary to the plot, that being Socks and Izzy. When it came to the other characters played by Taika Waititi and Dale Soules, their characters were fine overall, but they were more so made for comedic relief. While I did get a chuckle out of them every now and then, I found myself wanting to focus more on Buzz's story than what they had to say. My second other potential issue comes from the main villain himself, Evil Emperor Zurg. Okay, spoilers for those of you who have not watched it, turn away now if you haven't. Essentially, Zurg turns out to be an older version of Buzz, one who has been obsessed with the mission and will complete it at no matter the cost. Now, this premise I actually very much like. However, that being the reason that he becomes the evil Emperor Zurg is somewhat off-putting. To be honest, I would have preferred something a little bit more nefarious. It just didn't seem like a big enough reason to completely change his moral compass. But Zurg's design, oh, that I love that. But in the end credit scene, we see that Zurg is still alive, so what I'm hoping, maybe whoever he stole the Zurg armor from will come back to get it from him, resulting in maybe the real evil Emperor Zurg showing his face. Overall, Lightyear was still an immensely enjoyable film with a good narrative and amazing cinematography, and overall very pleasant new characters. Lightyear gets a 4.5 out of 6. Guys, Toy Story is a series we've all grown up with. No matter what movie you started with, no matter how young or old you were, there will always be something for you to look at and know that that was meant for you. And that's what makes this series so special. If you like my takes, feel free to subscribe, as we're only getting started with more and more content. More reviews coming weekly. It has been fun. What do you guys think of the films? Do you agree with the ratings? Comment down below. Give me your takes. We'll have a bit of a discussion, and we'll see you next time.